The United States and Iran agreeing to continue talks after officials met face-to-face for hours in Oman. Afterwards, the Trump administration announced new sanctions against the Islamic Republic. Let's bring in former State Department senior advisor under President Trump, Christian Whiton. So great to see you this morning. Thanks for joining us, Christian. So I would say that certainly in my adult life, I don't ever remember this amount of intense pressure placed on the Iranian regime. Is that a fair thing to say?
I think so, Charlie, and good morning. Yeah, we definitely have gotten their attention. President Trump has, specifically, first by bombing them in cooperation with Israel, which dramatically set back their nuclear program, and now in bringing this large military armada, another military force to the region. And they're willing to talk about nukes. The one thing they really don't want to talk about is the internal pressure, those protests we've seen inside Iran that could take down this regime eventually. But certainly Trump has made a lot of progress on the nuclear front.
So you have this weird situation where Iranian officials are claiming that they're not talking about all these other things directly with the United States, and you have the United States saying, oh, no, we're talking directly to them about all of these things. Explain that dynamic.
Well, the regime is lying. It's similar to a communist regime. An Islamist regime really has a very loose relationship with the truth. They'll say whatever they think they need to stay in power. They know if they're thrown out of power, not only are they powerless, they may actually be put on trial or face repercussions for the repression that they've had since 1979 there. So all of these things are on the table. The fact that Trump actually linked the involvement of the United States with these protests potentially were certainly on their side is so different than Obama and Biden, who basically sat on their hands when Iranians took to the streets in 2009 and early Biden.
I want to switch gears here to ask you about this suspect that U.S. officials have apparently captured and brought to the United States, who's involved in the Benghazi terror attack in 2012. Apparently, he was a driver and an actual actor in the event. Do we know any details about how he was collected and or where he was captured? All we know at this point is that he landed in the United States and is in custody and facing trial.
The administration is being pretty coy about where it detained this person. It says he was handed over. So it's unclear if he was handed over by Libyan officials or if he was found somewhere else. But it's great that after all of these years, because that terror attack, you recall, even though President Obama at the time refused to call it a terror attack, he called it a spontaneous protest, and they blamed some anti-American film in Egypt. Yeah, which actually became an issue in the presidential debate where the CNN moderator decided to jump in on Obama's behalf. But this killed the U.S. ambassador, which is a pretty rare event, thankfully. And to get some justice after all these years would be good.
And, of course, because of the focus on that video by the Obama administration, in particular former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, it sparked protests around the world in which many people were killed and didn't need to happen if they hadn't put publicity on that video in the first place. Christian Whiton, as always, we appreciate your take on these things. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.